On this edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum, our special guest today is Coach Jim Tufts. And Jim, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, but I want to start off with a big event that's coming up on May the 4th, and that is the annual Special Olympics. It'll be going on up at Bill Ball Stadium and at Exeter High School. So let's start right there.
Yeah, it's a wonderful event. It's become a rite of passage for our community every May. We've done it since we took it over in 2006 when the complex, 6-7, so the spring of '07 when the complex was opened. And it's going to be a great one this year because the state, Special Olympics in the state used to have 5 area meets, which were qualifiers for the state meet at UNH in June. And they've decided this year that they're going to reduce it to 3 area meets. So we anticipate having 22 Special Olympics teams at our event in the spring, doing track, field events, and then also part of it's going to be swimming over at the Academy pool.
Oh, cool.
Kate D'Ambrosio and her aquatic staff are going to be doing swimming simultaneously on the same day. So we're really excited. We're honored that Special Olympics chose us as one of the sites, and the many number of volunteers that have been with me through the years that make it happen. It takes about 50 to 70 volunteers to pull this off for the athletes, between the running events, the walking events, the wheelchair events, the throwing events, running, jumping. And then this year we're going to have bocce in the stadium at the same time and swimming. So we're really excited.
Busy day, busy day. Now, people, you can still use volunteers to help out,
We
correct?
use volunteers to show up that day. Matt Carboni's my volunteer, well-known guy in the community. He's a volunteer coordinator, and he's going to be right by the fence that morning, and no one will be turned away.
Well, I was going to say I'll be there. You know that, and it's always a fun day. And we will not let Mother Nature play any tricks. We want to get all this bad weather out of the way. So the May 4th, we have a super day.
Yeah, we look forward to it, and we've had really, really pleasant days, and we've had a couple of days where we've tried to outrun the rain, and whichever way it's going to be, it's just one of those events that it's such a joyous day for the athletes, for their families, for the volunteers. It's a special event.
Well, I'm going to ask you in a minute or two to explain to the folks that are not familiar with your involvement with Special Olympics how it came about. But first, I want to ask you about some of the youngsters that have been participating over the years. You keep in touch with some of those folks?
Yeah, and they don't usually leave us. We have athletes that are almost on our team that are almost 50 years old, and they started competing when they were at the junior high school on Linden Street. And we send out notice every spring, and they pop back up, and some of them are on our team, and some of them have relocated within the state, and they might be on other teams. But no, Special Olympics is a lifetime commitment that occasionally, actually, I could say a couple of our athletes have transitioned as they've gotten older from running the 100 or the 200, where they're now doing walking events. But most of them aren't. Most of them are still running and running relays and participating in events that they've been doing for, in some cases, 30 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
And what's special about this particular day is that, and that those type of sports that they're involved with, the running and any of this that you're going to be seeing on May the 4th, it's a personal best thing. They're competing, but they're really going after their own personal bests.
They are, and certainly it's a competition, and it's again the area game is a qualifier. So what they do is all the kids compete and get their times, and those go into the master database, so that when we get to UNH, the computer will say to us, these 5 athletes should run together, these 3 athletes should run together, these 6 athletes should run together, and up at the state games it is very competitive. And there they get medals, and their names are up on the big jumbotron, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
What's fun for me, in a lot of ways, one of the things that's really fun for me is there will be people there volunteering, and there'll be adults that will come back to watch our kids compete who may have been peer coaches when they were high school students.
Mm-hmm.
And, they volunteered when they were each one of our athletes at Exeter High School, 25 or 30 athletes, has a high school student as their coach or 2. And they guide them through the events. We organize them. They're their coaches. They'll get them through their events. And some of the people that will come back to volunteer and some of the people that come back to watch are either college kids or adults that want to come back and see the athletes and want to come back and see the competition.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And again,
it's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I was just saying that track and field, what really impressed me, even when my kids were in school, that you may not be the best jumper, you may not be the fastest runner, you may not be the strongest guy or gal out there to throw a shot put or discus or javelin, but again, as long as you are building up inside you something that convinces you you're going after your personal best, the competition part of it works in.
No question. And often our athletes will ask what their times were, knowing that what their qualifying times were, what they ran or jumped at last year.
Mm-hmm.
No question that competition and improvement go hand in hand with the physical benefits of it.
Well, as I said a few minutes ago, this is a family tradition for you, and for folks that aren't familiar with how you and your family got involved with Special Olympics, give the thumbnail to the new listeners.
So it's really fun that it's back here in Exeter in the community, and one of the main supporters is Phillips Exeter, hand in hand, Exeter High School, of course, but Phillips Exeter will send us 30 volunteers, and actually some of their faculty and staff will come and volunteer, which brings it full circle, because in June of 1970, the first Special Olympic event, and it was track and field and swimming, took place at Phillips Exeter Academy Stadium under the direction of Gina and Arthur Tufts and Tid Seabrook and Cass Donovan. I was a senior. I had just graduated, and I was a gopher. I was doing anything my mom directed me to do. And so it's really, really meaningful that we've been able to continue this in our community, because this is where it started 54 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And we're just getting like a fine wine better.
Yeah, it's great that the academy supports it and the high school support it. It was a joint venture then, and it's still a joint venture now.
And that's a good thing. I mean, especially in today's environment, I'm happy that the community can rally around a great cause.
Yeah, and again, we have all those volunteers that are helping, all the kids that are helping. The fire department will is there serving food, and Heidi Kirby, the trainer at the high school, is our athletic trainer for the event. So it really is it's a special event. It's a wonderful thing for the athletes, and it's a wonderful thing for our community.
It is. It is. And May 4th at Exeter High School, and part of it at Bill Ball Stadium, but also the track right behind the stadium. Yeah.
The Donovan Track Complex.
Yeah. The complex, as we like to call it. And of course, named after Cass Donovan now, the track. So there you go. It's kind of,
Yep,
you're
no,
right, full circle.
she was in charge of the timers at the June event in 1970, and so it's really full circle.
It is full circle.
It starts at 8 in the morning, and it'll be done sometime early in the afternoon. And it is if you're looking to fill up your cup and have a smile all day, that's the place to be.
And if folks want to help out, has Mark got a email that they could ship one off to?
You can send it to me at tufts.jim42@gmail.com.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it
Or
is.
they can just show up that day.
It is a great day. And you've said it before, once you've done it, you'll be back.
First
You'll be
time,
back.
first time you come,
You know,
lifetime commitment.
yeah, exactly. I gotta switch gears though and ask you about a topic I know that's near and dear to your heart, and that's hockey. And what happened to the Bruins this year, to Jim? What happened?
They, I think in professional sports, we always look at the athletes, we always look at the managers or coaches. But I think that one of the things that becomes clear in this one, and really in any sport, is the building blocks that a general manager has to put in place in order to give a coach and team a good shot is a huge part of the equation. And the leadership group, I think there's supposed to be a press conference today, and there's a lot of speculation, but the leadership group with Sweeney and Neely and that organization, I don't think they made great choices, judgments, decisions in putting this team together. It just didn't work out. And they didn't address some needs that had to be addressed. And I don't think, they fired Cassidy 2 years ago, and I don't think it was his fault, and he won the cup the next year with Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
They fired Montgomery this year, and he's made the playoffs with the Blues. And they had a 12-game win streak at one point during the season. And I think this one falls squarely on the shoulders of management, that they didn't put this thing together very well. And they've got some holes. They got some things they got to fix.
Well, were you surprised? Were you surprised when Brad Marchand got the hook?
No,
No?
no. I think that was a couple of things. I think that was he wanted a 2-year deal, and I don't know what the money was, and I'm not sure that was realistic. And I think that they recognized they weren't going to be able to sign him, and he was a valuable chip to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was a good decision. Sweeney is really, really good at the trade deadline decisions, and the people he has picked up over the last 10 years at the trade deadline, and the moves he's made were good. Bertuzzi, Hathaway, several others that were really good decisions. And I think sending out Carlos, sending out Marchand, and getting some chips, some of those are gonna turn out pretty good. Not only like Middlestat this year, but some guys that they picked up down in the minors. Some of those guys are going to be pretty good players. So I think that was a good one. And Sweeney is really good at those. He's not really good at the draft.
Mm.
If you look at his draft decisions over the last 10 years, he's missed on more than he's hit. And so this next draft is big. And they've got to hit on some people. And they're going to have a little higher pick than they've had in the past.
That's true. You're
They've
right.
got to hit on some of these guys.
They can't choke on that one. They have to make that one count, you know?
I won't be surprised if Marchand is back on a 1-year deal next year.
That's what the rumor was out there that he'd come back.
Won't surprise me.
Yeah, no bridges were burnt.
No bridges were burned. And if he plays in 50% of Florida's games in the first 2 rounds, so assuming they play 2 rounds, if he plays in 50%, that pick becomes a first-round pick.
Wow.
And then he's a free agent.
Hmm.
He might sign a 1-year deal to come back. You know, the way you look at Bergeron and Krejci, their last years, they were on 1-year, $1 million deals. Now, I don't know that Marchand's going to come back at $1 million, but he can't be asking for an 8 or a 9 million.
Right.
You know, there might be some common ground in there. So it won't surprise me. And I think that was a great move on Sweeney's part.
So as we head into the Stanley Cup playoffs, handicap it for me.
Ooh, boy, it's pretty wide open. It really is pretty wide open. There really isn't a beast of the East. You know, Washington's going to end up as that top. I think they're going to be the 1 seed, but you can't discount Florida. You can't discount Tampa. You can't discount Carolina. Toronto keeps looking like they're going to get better, but they somehow or other they shoot themselves in the foot every year. Toronto can't figure out the goaltending. That's their Achilles heel. If they could ever fill out the goaltending, they'd be very good. But you know, both Florida and Tampa with those goalies, with Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky, and they're going to be trouble. And hockey comes down to goaltending. Hockey comes down to goaltending, and both Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky are the real deal. Washington has been sort of hit or miss. Out west, it's kind of the same thing. Edmonton has got a talented team, but I'm not sure they've got the goaltending. So if I were going to pick a team, and if you're going to put me on the spot to pick a team right now, I might pick Florida to repeat.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. You heard it here first, folks. I got to ask you about a sport that I'm getting involved with again this spring, and that's lacrosse. Now, I just want to know that there is a difference between lacrosse for the guys and lacrosse for the gals. What are those nuances?
So it's interesting. You know, since I've left coaching, I've got the second career officiating. And as a physical educator, you officiate every day in class.
Right.
And I have always said I could officiate, I think, any sport, you know, ice, fields, inside, outside, except field hockey and girls lacrosse.
Wow.
And actually, there's such a shortage of girls lacrosse officials. I got asked a couple of times last year if I do it, and I said no. So the guys is men's lacrosse is a hybrid, or it's similar. It's not a hybrid. It has very similar movements, rules, flow of play to soccer, basketball, and ice hockey.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of each of those in them. The way kids move, the way you set picks, the way you can defend, the physicality of it. When I picked it up in 2006 with Dave Shannon and Billy Ball as my mentors, it was really easy to pick up having a skill base, for me, a base of those three sports because they're very similar. Girls lacrosse, because they don't wear the helmets, imagine it as a force field around a player that can't be violated. And again, it's a fine line because you can get in the way and you can impede, but you can't get in that bubble, that space.
Space, yeah.
Yeah. And if you do, there's penalties. And the penalties, if they're really bad, you're sent off. And if they're just sort of minor violations, then you have free plays, which start from a dead ball. Might be similar to a free kick in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the severity of them, depends on the advantage that is putting the ball back into play. So, I'm good girls lacrosse officials, and oftentimes, they're people who have played, but I know some officials that didn't play themselves. They understand those nuances and the subtleties of the rules, which I think is really important when you're officiating a game. That if you've played it,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a higher comprehension of it.
And the thing I was going to ask you about, as far as lacrosse is concerned, I've noticed, again, having been involved with the public address announcing for a couple of seasons now, a lot of club teams for both the guys and the gals. I'm just your take on some of that. Is that kind of an elite group, or does that?
No, and I think that's another whole story, because I think lacrosse is so. If you talk the umbrella of club teams, it's every sport. Club soccer. Seacoast United is a club soccer organization. The Boston Bolts, all those, or New York Red Bulls, they all have club teams. Hockey, club teams and junior sports are almost dominating hockey. Basketball's got the AAU. Those are club teams.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, you could play baseball year round right now if you wanted to on club teams. So, you've got kids in every sport that may play in their community, or they may play in their general area with a club team, and then they may travel with another club team.
Wow.
A friend, teacher, coach who's got a 12-year-old now in travel baseball. And I know that son is going to play on a local town team, and I know they're going to play on a club team in this area, and I know they're going to go to national tournaments on another club team.
Wow.
So you pick it, whether it's lacrosse, hockey, soccer, baseball, basketball, swimming, any sport, club teams are prevalent.
Well, one thing we've brought up in the past shows that we've discussed different sports, and the ones you just brought up, I think that for the sake of the athlete, male or female, to specialize is one thing, but I think you're from the old school, like, hey, it's good to do like a couple of sports, overlapping type sports.
And there's such carryover. There's such a carryover. There's so many different things that you learn that you carry over to your main sport. and there's no doubt. Bill Ball is one of the biggest advocates. And Exeter High School, I think, because of Billy and his coaching multiple sports, and Jeff Holmes coaching multiple sports, and me coaching multiple sports there, the student athletes knew that was the norm, to play multiple sports. And they have teammates that are different. Their roles are different. They may be the star in one sport, and they may be coming off the bench in another sport. They may be batting ninth in baseball, but the starting center in football or basketball, or there are so many carryovers. And Billy used to talk about it about you're an ankle away. If you've trained all year and in preseason you break your ankle and you have no season, what do you do to your senior year?
Yeah.
If you never got to play that one sport that you put all the marbles in, then what? And we're talking about the club sports, and we're really lucky, I think, in this country, because our kids have all these club sports, but for the most part, except for a few things, come back to high school sports.
Right.
In Canada, high school hockey is where it's like the fifth tier. Kids are playing junior A, junior B, triple A, triple B, and then a few kids play high school. If you go to Europe, those guys, Lionel Messi got plucked out of Argentina at 12 years old to go to a Spanish club program. He lived in a dorm, was part of their club program. At 12, 13, 14, at 16, signed a professional contract, and that was his route. And these, whatever sport it is, handball, soccer, basketball, in Europe, it's all club. It's all these, the young lady that got drafted in the WNBA draft, 19-year-old French girl, she's in professional club basketball. And that's what they do. And so in this country, we're really fortunate that kids play for their communities, because in Canada, in Europe, in South America, they don't.
Right.
They only play club. And I think it's wonderful.
Well, I tell you,
I think
speaking,
multiple sport kids reap the most benefits.
yeah, I agree with you. And again, multiple sports, and go back to the individual going after their own personal best. Let's go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the program, the Special Olympics event that you're going to be hosting on the 4th of May at Exeter High School, Bill Ball Stadium, and the complex, as we call it now, with the cast donovan field and track. That's a special day for a lot of guys and gals that put it all out there. And again, your family has been a proponent of it since the beginning, and I know you feel that there's a personal satisfaction for that, even if it's just that one day. But it goes on beyond just that one day.
It does. In Special Olympics New Hampshire, if someone were to pull up their website and look at their calendar, they have sports going all year. They have bowling and volleyball and track and golf. The state basketball tournament was last weekend because they were all grumbling about the snow getting to the venues. But the basketball was going, swimming is going, golf I mentioned. Special Olympics New Hampshire has a full slate of events all year round. And it's absolutely wonderful. And one of the spinoffs and again, this is one of those satisfying moments. One of the spinoffs is Unified Sports in High School. They started, I can go back to the athletic directors meet in spring of 2011. And my son Maddie and I and Quinn Connor, who had played soccer and basketball at Exeter High School, but he'd also been a peer athlete with our Special Olympics program since sixth grade. And the three, Maddie and Quinn, and I each got to talk to the athletic directors, and they bought in the next fall, Unified Sports started in New Hampshire. And that's one of the Unified Sports in the NHIA is huge.
It is.
Huge. And it's a spinoff of Special Olympics. It's where it kind of got started. And so those kids now in high school, and you see it. You see kids that are on the same team, Special Olympic athletes and partners, and they play basketball together, they play soccer together, and then they see each other in the library, they see each other in the cafeteria. They're teammates, and you don't need any program. You don't need
Right.
You don't need the federal government or the state to say any program, because it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's acceptance, it's unity, it's joyous. I keep coming back to that word. When I reached out, I sent out my email to my core volunteers. They all answered in a day, because it fills you, it fills your heart, and to watch the athletes compete and watch their families and watch their grandparents. There will be grandparents that I will see at that event in May that they come up and they thank us. And they're there every year, and I look forward to seeing them, because it means so much that their grandchildren and their children and are competing.
Yeah, you can feel the respect of, as you said, not just parents, grandparents, and the athletes themselves to you in particular, because you've been such a proponent and been the leader of the pack here in this area, the Seacoast area.
A lot of people helping me.
Well, it's a team effort. We will leave with that note, and that if anybody wants to join the team, May the 4th, Exeter High School, you'll see the Bill William Ball Stadium, and park in that parking lot, and the track is right there too. So it's one big complex, one big sports complex, and all the events will be there that day. And you mentioned the track and field, and the bocce will be back this year, and just it's a fun day, and it'll start promptly at 8 o'clock, as you said.
First event goes off at 8 o'clock, and then we go.
And I tell you, Mother Nature better get it all out of her system over the next couple of weeks. And that May 4th, I want sunshine and 70. Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be beautiful. That'd be wonderful.
Even 60. I'll settle for 60, Jim. Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of other folks are too, including the athletes and the folks that are going to be there. And if they do want to help, please join in on May the 4th at Exeter High School. It's a great event, and as Jim said, once you're there, you're hooked. You're a lifer.
Well,
Have you got something for the 2-minute drills?
Yeah, I do. We've all been watching the March Madness and the basketball, and that it's always a wonderful, wonderful event. But then last weekend, the final Frozen Four for Division I men's ice hockey was out in St. Louis, so I wanted to kind of send my props to there, because so the semifinals was Denver, Western Michigan, and then Boston University and Penn State. So the Denver Western Michigan game was officiated by Jeff Miller, graduate of Winnicott High School, and Jeremy Tufts, a graduate of Exeter High School. And Western Michigan had a young man named Cole Kreuzberg-Rosine, who played hockey at Exeter High School his freshman year, and then got into the club world and found his way. And so that game had three local kids involved in it. One played and two officiated. The other game had an official named Ryan Hersey, who's a graduate of the Dover High School hockey program, who officiates out west. And Denver BU was the final. And in the final, Cole Kreuzberg-Rosine, who grew up in Newfields, New Hampshire, scored one of the goals in Western Michigan's championship effort, their first national championship ever in ice hockey. And so props to Cole for a national championship. Props to Jeff and Jeremy and Ryan Hersey, who were three local kids who played high school hockey in this area and officiated in the semifinals and finals of the national championship. That's pretty cool too.
It is cool. The Seacoast is represented, no doubt about it. I love it. The only thing I was going to say for the 2-minute drill, and if you get a chance to see it, it's on HBO Max right now. It's called Celtic City. We were talking about the Bruins a little while ago and how they're going through a retooling or whatever you want to call it. The Celtics, it starts at the very beginning, and I'm at the point now where they went from the bright Kelly Celtic green team to the, as they called it, the dark green Celtics team during the era of J.Y. Brown. And the team was getting old and had to be retooled. And then where I left off in this 8-part documentary is the second coming of the team with the rebuild with Larry Bird.
And that's a fun. I've heard people talking about it, and it's great because you get some history. And again, we went back to the general managers and stuff, and Danny Ainge took a lot of heat, but eventually down there in that documentary, you stop and think about Danny Ainge trading away some of those guys has brought us Jason Tatum,
Sure.
Brown, and those guys. So I heard somebody interesting the other day talking about, so you got Celtic City. You just had the Red Sox one at the clubhouse,
Right.
which was interesting. You had the Belichick Kraft documentary.
Yeah, that one.
There are people out there that are wondering if there are too many documentaries on the Boston teams, and so for us, they're great.
Well, I'll tell you, if I had my choice of the three you just mentioned, the Celtic one is the one I would stick with, only because, especially if you're a newbie to the Celtics and you don't know about the building of a dynasty, it'll educate you. Whereas I think the clubhouse, the Red Sox Netflix thing, first off, you can't sit there and watch it with your young grandkids because they let everything hang out and the language is out there. I wasn't too happy about that. I wish there was a PG version of it. But the other thing is, you also know the ending to that season last year. It wasn't a good thing. So, I'm more of a let's educate people, and in this case with the Celtics one is a plus. The Belichick and the one that Bob Kraft put together.
They can have each other.
Yeah, I'd rather read a book.
And Celtic City is great because, again, if you're a newbie, you don't necessarily have an appreciation of just what Bill Russell and accomplished. I mean, here's a guy who won 2 NBA titles as a coach and 12 altogether, and the Heinzens and the Havliceks and the JoJo Whites, and we can appreciate them because we're a little longer in the tooth, but to those old Celtic teams and what they used to mean.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty special.
I think you'll appreciate this. Years ago, a few years back, about 5 years ago, I guess it was, I was down here on Portsmouth Avenue at a local restaurant, a breakfast place, and I'm sitting there with a friend, and we're talking about things, and then all of a sudden I notice Tommy Heinsohn walking in. He used to frequent this place for his breakfast, and I was like flabbergasted. I thought, "Holy man, this is I can't leave without saying thank you." And the guy that I was with could have cared less, and he got him took off, and I said, I'll be out in a minute. And I went over to him and I said, Mr. Heinsohn, I said, I just want to say thank you for not only all the years that you were a player and the coach. I said, but the years as a broadcaster. I said, I got buku respect for you for all those things. And he just said thank you and went back to his breakfast. But
You stop and think about, if you start to list off the renowned Celtics,
mm,
I mean, we're so fortunate that we did. And again, that's late 60s and 70s. That was a tumultuous time
oh yeah,
in Boston.
mm,
But they just the characters that went through there.
hmm
We had that whole era, and then you follow it up with the Bird, DJ, McHale, Parrish.
hmm
Then we've got them, and now we've got these guys, and then Paul Pierce and the big three and Real, and now we've got Tatum, Brown, White. We are so fortunate.
Oh, we are. And one thing was brought out in Celtic City was in the 50s and early 60s, and even until they started racking up some of those banners, it was a Bruins town,
Well,
period.
no question.
It was the Bruins town. And then once they started getting the momentum going, then it kind of shifted a bit. But you know what? It's a retooling time for the Bruins. They'll be back too.
They will.
Well, Jim Tufts, I really appreciate you joining us today. And again, May 4th, you'll see me up there, and I hope we'll convince a few people to join us for the Special Olympics. It's a fun day, and it starts at 8 promptly and be over early on in the afternoon. So please join us. And on behalf of Jim Tufts, this is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum.